You may first in your language. First ask your question in your language, then in English.
Мой следующий вопрос о том, что такое просветление и что такое освобождение. Шри Бхагават, what is enlightenment and what is liberation?
So here, many people interested to get enlightenment.
Многих людей интересует достижение просветления.
And there are many practices are given to get enlightenment.
И существуют многие практики, которые якобы дают просветление.
But actually, the enlightenment is not a great thing comparing with liberation. Liberation is the greatest thing.
Но на самом деле просветление не является самым великим достижением. Освобождение является более высоким состоянием, высочайшим достижением.
But many people club both enlightenment and liberation as one.
Но многие люди думают, что просветление и освобождение – это одно и то же.
But according to me, such clubbing the two into one creates more problems.
Но, на мой взгляд, вот именно это соединение просветления и освобождения как одного, оно создает проблему.
But if you divide both, the matter is very simple.
Но когда вы разделите просветление и освобождение, то вам станет очень все понятно.
And enlightenment is only intellectual understanding.
Просветление – это есть интеллектуальное понимание.
And we act everything only with the help of our intellect.
И мы делаем абсолютно все с помощью интеллекта.
And whenever we want to do something, we do through our intellect.
Что бы мы ни делали с вами, мы делаем это через интеллект.
So in the intellect alone, we have to understand what is the correct way of doing. Then if you understand in the correct way, it is known as enlightenment.
И только благодаря интеллекту мы понимаем, что мы, допустим, на правильном пути, что мы что-то делаем правильно. Shri Bhagavad, please repeat last.
In the intellectual level, if you understand how to work correctly, and this understanding is enlightenment. How to work correctly through our intellect.
Если вы поймете, как правильно использовать свой интеллект, это и есть просветление.
But here, the liberation has no connection with the intellect directly. Liberation has no direct connection with the intellect.
Само освобождение не имеет прямой связи с интеллектом.
The liberation means only the liberated feelings of our consciousness. Liberation means the liberated feelings of our consciousness.
Освобождение означает освобождение чувств нашего сознания.
Actually, the intellect has no power to create liberation.
На самом деле интеллект не имеет силы создавать
create liberation.
Создавать освобождение, достичь освобождения.
And the very nature of our consciousness, the very nature of our feelings is in the liberated state.
Естественное состояние, естественные наши чувства и естественное наше состояние – это и есть освобождение. То есть дать возможность происходить всему естественно, это и есть освобождение.
So our consciousness is always in liberation. Our consciousness is always in liberation.
Наше сознание всегда является освобожденным.
So liberation means only the liberated feelings.
Освобождение означает освобожденные чувства.
But I think with the intellect has some duty in the consciousness.
Но мы думаем, что интеллект имеет определенную работу по коррекции этого сознания.
And it is a clear mistake
Это очень очевидная ошибка,
that the intellect has some duty in the consciousness.
что интеллект имеет определенное право корректировать сознание.
So the real understanding of the intellect that it has no duty in the conscious level is a real understanding.
Но вот то понимание, которое является просветлением, оно заключается в том, что происходит глубокое полное понимание, что интеллект не может контролировать или вмешиваться в работу сознания.
So this understanding that it has no business in the conscious level, this understanding is known as enlightenment.
То есть вот это понимание, что интеллектом вы не можете контролировать сознание, является просветлением.
So we have nothing to do with liberation. Liberation is our natural state.
И на самом деле мы не должны ничего делать с освобождением, потому что освобождение – это наше природное, естественное состояние.
And each feeling comes and goes naturally.
Все чувства приходят и уходят естественно.
So only our intellect tries to retain something and remain and remove something.
Только наш интеллект пытается что-то либо задержать, либо удалить и вносить вот коррективы в это естественное движение потока и сознания.
It makes such struggle only it has some idea to do something.
И это создает вот эту борьбу, создает, что вы должны что-то делать с этим естественным состоянием.
So if the intellect understand it has no duty like this.
И если интеллект понимает, что он не должен вмешиваться в проявление естественного потока сознания.
And this very understanding is known as enlightenment.
И вот это вот глубокое понимание является просветлением.
So the enlightenment is related to the intellectual and the liberation is related to the consciousness. Enlightenment is related. Enlightenment is related to intellect. Liberation is related to consciousness.
И вот процесс просветления, он относится к интеллекту, а процесс освобождения, он относится к сознанию. And can you remind that intellect this is illusory and consciousness this is...
But the intellect, in the intellectual level, some work is necessary.
И
up to the level of understanding, work is necessary.
И для нашего понимания работа интеллекта, она нужна.
But no work is necessary in the field of consciousness.
Но вот
work is necessary in the field of consciousness.
Но работа интеллекта не нужна в поле сознания.
So we have to live the consciousness in the natural way.
Мы должны осознанно жить в естественном потоке.
But in the intellectual alone, we have to work, we have to find out the nature of the intellect. In the intellectual level, we have to work and find out the natural structure of the intellect.
То есть мы должны использовать вот эту вот естественную структуру интеллекта, совершать внешнюю работу. Это его естественное назначение. Через него совершать действия.
Thereby we can understand the limitation of the intellect.
И мы должны понимать вот это вот ограничение интеллекта, ограничение его должностных обязанностей.
So if you understand in the intellectual level,
И если вы поняли это на интеллектуальном уровне, то есть ваш интеллект понял свои обязанности глубоко,
the salvation is happened in the intellectual level.
то salvation,
The salvation happens in the intellectual level.
то решение произойдет на интеллектуальном уровне.
But in the conscious level, no salvation is necessary. It is always in the good state.
То есть в самом сознании нет проблем, и оно не нуждается в решении проблем.
But here, all our work, all our effort, all our understanding is only related to the intellectual level.
И вот вся наша работа, все наши такие повседневные проблемы, они связаны как раз с интеллектуальным уровнем.
So we may work for enlightenment, but we need not work for liberation.
И да, мы можем работать для достижения просветления, но не для достижения освобождения. Very nice.
So can you ask?
Okay, there are many different teachers and books that you read. They say that in order to have self-realization or awakening, you need to have a quiet mind. So they give all these different practices so that your mind can be quiet. And without this quiet mind, they say there's no possibility of awakening. I was wondering what you have to say about that.
So here, according to me, understanding solves everything. For the understanding, for some quietness is necessary for understanding also. Even though you have to understand something, you have to think it properly. To think it properly, you will have a quiet mind. To that extent, it is enough. But it is not a great and some strange silence is not necessary. Some necessary quietness is enough. To that level of understanding, for the necessary inquiry, you may have some quiet mind. The little amount of quietness is enough. It is not a greater level of quiet mind is not necessary, as everybody is saying like that. But here main thing is the intellectual understanding. For example, if you want to put any calculation, even to put an ordinary calculation, you must have some quiet mind. If you have some disturbed mind, you cannot attend some small mathematics itself, it cannot be possible. So to that extent, some quiet mind is enough to put just like to make a calculation in a notebook. Just like that, you can have a good, but you have to have the main thing, instead of the quietness, the openness alone is very necessary. You have to be very open, then if you have some reservation in your mind, and the reservation will be disturbing. So the open mind alone is very essential to come to a conclusion. Because you have to take some decision against your conclusion, then you have to be open. Then only you can have a conclusion. So when we are open to come to a conclusion, even it may be against you. So then only you can have a right conclusion. So coming to the right conclusion solves the real problem. So the right conclusion is the real understanding. So the understanding alone solves the real problem.
I again ask about how to maybe understand that you are really ready to give up all practices, because maybe for some people it is don't need to make, to give up practice. Maybe they are not right.
But in the early period, it is good to have some practice.
How can we difference? Is it continuing earlier period or it is already mature period?
So if you go along with your practice and you will feel it is inadequate, you may feel that
you
the
already
practice is not adequate.
suspect that
You will suspect it.
it's useless.
Useless.
So,
A question?
Oh, you can tell. You can. Oh.
So I was just wanting to understand if we have any control. So sometimes when we talk about the innocence, for example, and feelings or emotions, you say we have no business there. So there is nothing we can do. But when you talk about intellect, you suggest that we can try to do something differently. And that suggests that we have control to change what we do. Is that true?
The changing the intellect, we can change the intellect. The intellect is only collected memories, collected ideas. It is not. Also.
the English gentleman that said about looking for a rest.
Not looking for a rest.
And you began
Instead of taking rest, you have to flow.
Yes, this one. If you can say it again. Our necessity of working, of looking at movies, etc.
And if you ask a question and you have to take something. But there, as there is no question, only I have to recollect what they are already told.
It's not me asking the question.
It is only the remembering of the statement, not the, it is not the natural answering.
I don't remember the question actually. So, and the gentleman is not here. We are waiting if he comes back and says the same question that I don't remember.
What was the subject of it?
But any question you may ask.
The strive to have a rest, a peaceful place where to stay.
Physically or both?
Both.
Both physically.
No, mentally.
Mentally, it was mentally.
Some place to rest. He wants some
We
place,
want a place to rest.
some place to rest.
And this is not a question, this is a problem. The question was given differently. And I don't remember the question. I remember the answer.
So you just wanted to hear again the
Yeah.
Yes,
answer?
for you, especially for you, because you weren't here at this time. I told you yesterday, he gave a beautiful teaching, and just before you came, so I was trying to extract again the answer.
Yeah. But it was totally recorded, huh?
Yes, yes, of course. It is recorded.
If it has a record, it will be recorded. But I don't know whether it is a recorded or not. But sometimes it creates some trouble.
So, if let's say you are driving some short drive with somebody, maybe on the train, you and him are sitting together, and you have maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and he asks you about your teachings, then you have to say it in a very short and a very direct way for him. Let's say he is a spiritual seeker, but you have only 5 minutes.
I'm asking the question. Can you please say in 5 minutes the essence of
Yes,
your
sir.
teaching?
Yes. So what would you say? He might not see you again. He might go.
Come some other day.
Come next year.
But the essence of yourself is that you have to be so in brief account what is the crux of
Yes, the crux of the matter. For a spiritual seeker, not for general public, because then you have to be more. But let's say he is a spiritual seeker, he knows about J. Krishnamurti, he knows about all these people, he has done practices, but he still didn't find the freedom after some years.
So we have our mind. Through our mind, you can use our mind to all our activities in the external world. We can use our mind into the total capacity to the external world. But we cannot use our mind to saturate the mind. So Using the mind to the external situation is different, and using the mind to correct itself is the using the mind to correct itself is the problem. So if you ask a question to ourselves, how we are using our mind, whether we are using our mind to do the certain things in the external world or doing something to correct itself, then only you can have the answer. If you doing something to correct yourself, then it will create, then thereby you are creating more problem to yourself. So your mind is designed to do something in the external world, but it has not designed to correct itself. So the mind will correct itself naturally, in the natural course of it. So you have no business to correct itself. Pause.
Pause.
Many spiritual seekers has this understanding that the problem is that they are interfering, but still interfering going on, and they are unable to solve this problem. So they know what is the problem, they know the interference is the problem, but still interference is going on, and they don't find a solution for this problem.
So here we come to the conclusion whether we have any business here or not. So we come to the conclusion there is no business, and our idea, our concept says we have no business here. So in spite of your understanding, if you do something, it is against your understanding. Then it is not your will. It is not your conscious effort, because you yourself has decided you have no work. In spite of your decision that you have no work, even then you work something, that means something is going beyond your control. Something is going beyond your decision. Actually, when we do some work alone, we create some entity to do some work. Actually, there is no separate entity as we think. Because when we feel as I am a separate person having the responsibility to correct ourselves, actually every movement of our consciousness is a kind of experience. So even the entity, in the name of entity that I am somebody, is also a kind of experience. Even though it looks like a personality having some duty, but actually it is also an experience. But we think it is not an experience and it is an experiencer. But actually there is no experiencer, only experience alone is there. But only because of assuming some responsibility alone, we give the experience the name as the experiencer. Actually there is no experiencer. But because of our effort alone, we give him the name as experiencer. Otherwise there is no experiencer. Only experience alone is there. So
you say even when we interfere,
it is an
and there is the feeling that it is we who are interfering, it's also an experience.
It is an experience, because in the conscious field, whatever comes is only the experience alone. But we mistakenly take some part of our experiences as the experiencer,
Yes.
and another part is the experience. Then only we confuse it in ourselves. Actually, whatever happens in the consciousness is only experience alone. There is no experiencer. But we mistakenly take some responsibility. But even though you think you to be as experiencer, it is not at all a problem. But whenever we put some responsibility to do something, to correct something, then only the experiencer gets powerful. Otherwise, even though you give the name as experiencer, it is not powerful.
So what you say is that naturally there is the sense that there is someone, the experiencer, comes about, but this is not a problem.
Not a problem.
The problem is that when we assume that this experiencer must somehow correct or change or modify the experience.
then only it creates some strength in the problem. Otherwise, even though there is problem, the problem is also flowing. So we need not stand anywhere else to solve the problem. And the problem solves naturally because all experiences goes without any expectation, because it is the nature of each experiences is to flow. So no experience is standing, I will be stand forever. No experience will stay like that. Only we imagine that something is, some static thing is there. But actually there is no static thing. Everything is in the flowing. But we expect some permanent change, then only we expect a permanency in anything. But actually there is no permanency in anything. Because everything is an experience, everything is in the flow. So you need not mind the struggle itself. So when you understand you have no work here, you need not mind the struggle itself. Because all struggle is a kind of experience. So whatever may be the experience, it has to flow. It is the natural, you need not ask him to flow. The very nature of the experience is to flow. And we need not command the flow. So whenever we command something, then only we interfere. So if you do not assume any responsibility for yourself to correct anything, then whatever happens will happen. So here, if you have the intention to correct anything, let it happen unconsciously. Don't do it consciously. So when you do not do it consciously, so whatever happens, even though it is against yourself, it happens in a natural way, and because it is an experience. In every moment we must have some experience. So in that moment, the experiences is in the form of, we have some confusion, we have things from the effort, but let it be in the unconscious level. But don't mix the unconscious level into the conscious level. So if you take it to be a conscious work, then only it creates problem. So you have to accept all the happenings as a natural experience, and it is the unconscious experience and the natural happening, then it will solve naturally.
So even if the interference is happening, you have to take it as a part of the flow.
Part of the flow.
It's part of the experience.
Experience.
And you don't need to assume responsibility to stop the interference.
Stop the interference. Because you have sufficiently decided that you have no work. So in spite of the work, something happened, that means the experience is like that. So we have to take it as a natural experience. It is not a created experience.
Maybe you can say something, what is the difference between conscious act and unconscious?
So conscious act means you deliberately change your view. Then if you come to the understanding, if you come to your view, that you have to do something. Then you do not wait for the unconscious struggling. You wait for you yourself enter into the conscious struggle. So that is the conscious work. Because you made up your mind that you have some work there. You have to. That is why everybody is doing some theory and practice. If you do this result will be there. Then only we deliberately do something. That is in the beginning stage, we must have such kind of decision. But after trying all the methods, all the philosophies, all the working practices, then we come to the conclusion that no work is there. So after finding the conclusion, then we have to satisfy with the conclusion.
But the thing is that the mind is programmed to act. This is the mind program.
So let it be programmed, let it be in the natural way. But you don't program, you don't do the program consciously. We have some program in the mind naturally. So then let the natural program will take care of it. So, as you decided, we have no work there, then there is no conscious program. There is no manual program. Let it be the natural and automatic program. It is enough. Whatever happens, let it happen naturally.
Because whenever the program is acting, it looks like it is conscious. It looks like it is deliberate. It looks like that. It looks like it is deliberate action. Whenever I engage with a thought.
It looks like deliberate action.
Yeah, it looks like that. Because it's conscious. Maybe it comes from the unconscious level.
But let it look like deliberate action. But you have not changed your decision, because you are sure that no work is necessary. So even though it looks like deliberate action, you need not, because it is there is no experiencer. Only experience alone is going on. The experience may look like the experiencer, but actually it is not an experiencer. There is no experiencer is there, but it may looks like the experiencer, but it is not really. It is really an experience alone.
Is it part of the understanding to realize that there is no experiencer?
No, not necessary.
Not
So
necessarily.
here we have to simply understand, if you get on with some philosophy, then only we are consciously trying to capture everything through some philosophy. So the understanding is to, all this philosophy is only to confirm that there is no work, to give you some confirmation that you have no work. So it is only in the level of some examining and discussion. But you need not keep all that philosophy in your mind to face the problem. So the simple thing, whether you have work or not, that alone is enough. So if you have the understanding that you have no work there, then whatever happen, let it happen. We have to take it as a natural thing. So in no way you should not feel any responsibility for that. So you should not, in no way you should not be blamed. So it is, when it is a natural work, you cannot be blamed, because it is not your work. So whenever you change your idea that you have some work, then only you consciously trying and consciously acquire some knowledge and consciously fighting, then only you can verify and change anything. But because you are sufficiently decided, you have no work here.
Is it a decision? Is it a decision or an understanding that operates by itself? Or is it a decision that you take consciously?
So the decision you have, the decision is already over, and you need not reopen the decision. But here you have decided that you have no work. But in spite of that, something happened against your decision. But it is not your decision. Because you have sufficiently decided you have no, but it is a natural happening. You have to take it as a natural happening.
Looks like you have to decide something after having understood, or I got confused.
Because we may struggling. For example, whenever we are having fear or sorrow, we may struggle to free from sorrow and suffering. But consciously we understood that we have no work there. So in spite of our understanding, we may struggle within ourselves to free from sorrow and suffering. So what is the nature for this happening? So what is the role here for ourselves? Here we have to take it, because we are not consciously trying to free from our sorrow and suffering. So it is the natural impulses. The natural impulses happening like that. And when the natural impulses operate as a struggling within ourselves, then what is the role of our consciousness? The consciousness is to take part or not. We are consciously struggling within ourselves, and even though it is happening unconsciously, and everything is happening in the conscious level. When it is happening in the conscious level, then what is the role of the consciousness? The consciousness, whether it has to approve the struggling or not. So here we are not consciously approving the struggle. So then what they have to do, then we have to take it as a natural happening because it happens without our approval. So if anything goes correctly, then we will have to approve correctly. To approve this is correct. But it is going on without approval. So when something is going on as a struggling, then the role of the consciousness is to feel that we have no work. Even in that struggling is going on, the role of the consciousness is to understand in this condition also something is going on beyond our control, beyond our expectation.
It seems that we still have something to do. That is, remind ourselves continuously that we have no business there. This is like a mantra. Am I right?
No, not like a mantra.
No, not like a mantra. I continuously.
Oh, you understand.
There is something happening inside me, and so I repeat to myself, I have no business here.
So not necessary to repeat yourself. So repeating yourself means you are practicing something.
Yeah.
So here this is understanding. So if you understand like this, you may forget the understanding itself. So you need not always keep the understanding with you. You need not be always conscious of that understanding. So you may forget the understanding itself.
But you were speaking about acceptance.
So acceptance means it is not a concept, conscious acceptance. Please keep it on this one. This is the edge, it is near the edge. Leave it. Slight movement will disturb.
He's the gentleman that
Yeah.
made the question.
Remind us.
I mean, what is happening for him, it's also part of what is happening, part of the experience. So if the experience is coming up, this repetition coming up, so there is something happening. And a natural repetition would be, I have no business there. He's not deliberately doing this.
So whatever happens naturally, let it happen like this. But don't do it consciously. You need not have any intention that I have to remind myself often.
Yes.
If you consciously do that like that, then it is also a kind of business.
Yeah.
So let it be. Whatever happens, if you have some repetition comes naturally, there is no mistake in that. But if you deliberately, I have to keep always in this memory by repeating the same as a mantra, and then you are doing some business.
And it is a subtle difference between the intention and the let it be.
So when we understood, everything is okay. Whatever thing is, whether we have to consciously fight with against ourselves or not, that alone is the message. And I also tell you the analogy, I think previously or not. For example, we are living in a rented house and we are living there for 10 years. And from that house alone, we are going to the office and returning to the house. We are doing the same thing for 10 years. And we are accustomed to go and return from the house. But after 10 years, we shifted our residence to the next street. But after a short period of shifting the place, once we return from the office, we mistakenly, with some other thing, we mistakenly reach the old house. So whenever we enter the old house, the very moment we enter the old house, we will remind, we have already vacated the house. Then the very moment you will turn to the new house. So you need not always keep in your mind, I will never go to my old house, I will never go to my old house. You need not keep on saying like that. It is already recorded. So you need not doubt the recording. The recording is over and you need not always remind the recording. The recording is there for your reference. But you need not always bring to your conscious level. So once recorded is always recorded. So if you understand properly, the understanding will work forever. But whenever you commit some mistake, and you can at the very moment of your understanding, you can rectify. That is enough.